So to give you a little bit of context, coronavirus isn't a new thing. It's a term given to all cold and flu viruses. This particular one is a respiratory virus, so there is an added complication, and it's a little bit more of a stronger strain. So we're in a position where the most vulnerable has already been identified as anybody who's elderly and has underlying conditions, particularly respiratory conditions, who would likely succumb to a normal coronavirus, have an increased risk. But if you think of that in terms of numbers, if the amount of people that are on the planet, there's still a very, very, very low chance that you are in any particular danger of loss of life. The people who are succumbing to this horrible disease are the group of people who would probably have died from a normal coronavirus. So the plan is in place to shield the people who are potentially in danger, to protect them for as long as possible, and to allow the health services throughout the world to be able to cope with the demand. Now, obviously, if the hospitals are being flooded with people who are worrying and panicking and having symptoms that wouldn't normally go to the hospital because they are not normally afraid of a cold or flu virus, they'd stay at home, they'd have a bad chest, they would maybe visit the GP, or they would just manage their symptoms at home. The increased fear and hysteria is pushing more people to go and visit doctors and hospitals, which is putting more strain on these services. And obviously there's no beds, there's no ventilators, so it's just being sensible with the data that we're given and trying to get out of that fear zone, that the immediate response and the threat response that I've been talking about in your brain is survival mode, is that there is a real threat to life, and I have to put in place my survival mechanism, which is flicking my switch to fight or flight, to putting the cortisol and adrenaline to the spaces that it's needed, sending it to my arms and legs to run away or to fight this unseen virus. It's the perception of threat that we're reacting to. And as I've mentioned to you before, the perception of threat is what creates these thoughts and these emotions which flick the switch to on, which means our system's flooded with our fight or flight response, and those particular chemicals, they're picked up by the trillions of cells in our bodies that all have receptors on the membrane, and the data from the peptides that come through the system from the thought, the chemicals that flood through will get to these receptors and say, here's some information for you, knock on the door, inside this cell, I need to give you a bit of information, we're in fight or flight, go away squad, you need to react, you need to do it quickly. And then the inside of the cell goes, oh my god, okay, go. Everything gets chaotic and everything is pushed to the places it's needed. Whereas what we want to happen is for a different set of chemicals to be released by our brains to access different hormones that will flood our system, and these particular peptides will get to the transmitters on the membrane of the cell and knock on the door and say, we're having a pretty cool day today. I'm feeling a lot of joy. We'd like you all to join us with this happy party and feel really good. That's what we need. We need to be able to be in that zone as much as possible to counteract all the fear and all the threat that we're facing, and to get our immune systems boosted up in case we do get the virus. And if we do get the virus, we're still not in too much of a threat of danger. I think it's in Iceland. Is it Iceland that there's a study that everybody's been tested and 50% of the population had it and didn't know they had it, so they didn't even have any symptoms. So there's a good chance you may have already even had this virus and not known about it. If you do get it, you may have a cold or flu symptoms. There may be a small chance that you experience some more severe symptoms that might need some treatment. You may, in an even smaller case, need to be hospitalised for treatment, but you will still make it through. You might have to be ventilated, and you will still make it through, because the treatment is a way to get you past this when you need a little bit of extra help. The problem comes when everything and all the systems are overwhelmed and past capacity. And that's when there's an increased loss of life, and that's what everybody's trying to protect from. So try and get out of that headspace where everything's an immediate threat, and to more logic and reasoning through things like breathing, mindfulness, meditation, visualization, art therapy, tapping therapy, going out and getting some fresh air. Get into a different headspace, because then you're more likely to be able to access logic and reasoning and understand this kind of information, that there is no direct threat. The best thing you can do and the most control you have is over how you respond to the situation. The response you want is to boost your own immune system with whatever resources you have available to you, most of which are free resources and that you can get just by learning how your brain works and how your psychology becomes your biology.